When I start my day, I love starting my day. Where do you think you go first in the morning? If during the day I wanted to please my senses, be it by eating some chocolate, because the lollies for me is like a reward. And I really found that in the morning, it's best to I do a quick check-in of my body. I make sure I'm okay. All right, I got my body, move into king and see what is the most important thing to do today. And from a king point of view, I look at what's the most important thing to do, because sometimes I want to go and mow the lawn. And for me, I've got a couple of properties. There's a bunch of lawn to do, but that's not the best work to do with my time. I've got to hire someone else to do that. Yeah. So sometimes the work I really got to do in the morning, the warrior work I really need to do in the morning is get my ass into king mode and be a king with my business and build my empire. And then go, you know what? I got to go over there into the warrior and I got to cold call, or I got to market, or I got to push hard for my business. Or no, I've got to work on a business plan, or I got to work on a marketing strategy. So what I want to do first in the morning is I want to enter my kingdom, and from my kingdom, I decide what's the most important thing to do for my kingdom or my coaching business, and then jump into the appropriate hat. So I'll be jumping into the warrior or the magician, and after 3 hours or a client or 2 clients or something, then I go, okay, lover, celebrate good times, come on. You know, a little celebration. I've done my coaching work, or I've done my cold calls. I've done my push-ups. I've done my exercise regime. I ran around the block, or I hustle to make money. Now I get into my feelings and love it afterwards.
Hi there, welcome to the replay of our after hours discussions with professional coaches. Your exclusive complimentary Sunday session for all of our community around the world, where coaching minds unite with our people to create real world results. I am Adrian Cahill, your host and founder of the Motivate community, and more recently, Monday Morning Motivation. As a global trainer in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, coaching, and hypnosis, this weekly gathering brings some of my colleagues from trainings, my fellow students and coaches all together in one place where we can discuss, share, help change the world by delivering free, quality information that's here to help you transform.
We did a workshop on this archetypes model, and I was pointing out that rather than coaches going out and doing social media marketing and trying to grow these coaching businesses by starting Instagram channel or a TikTok channel, it just kind of gets me. It's like you want to create a business, maybe a coaching business full of clients, and now you're building followers or likes on Instagram. And I was scratching my head going, wouldn't it make more sense if you wanted to grow a coaching business, or you really wanted to develop some skills? Wouldn't it make sense to kind of do that? And to grow a coaching business, focus on coaching, or focus on different ways you can serve and develop coaching skills. Coaching has the coaching work, and it also has the business side of the house, right? And on the business side of the house, there's stuff that needs to be structured, organized, rigid, kind of, there's a structure to it, there's a system to it. But the other side of coaching is there's so much feeling and emotion and getting the mastery of that stuff. It takes a long time to develop the skills, I believe, to be a successful coach or a therapist And the last thing I kind of want people doing is suddenly going far away and spending time developing a TikTok channel, and years later maybe getting some followers and likes, and then having to get those followers and likes and convert them into actual clients and money. So why not just focus on coaching and serving? So I find this particular model that we're walking through today as a model that we can walk directly up to people with and do. And now with this model that we're going to be talking about and running through today, this is one of the best models I've seen for some exploration and exposing us to unconscious shadows and patterns. So these archetypes can allow us to explore our own maps, explore our own lifestyles, and then make changes so we can get success at any level. And it doesn't matter where we're at, we can always shift our views. So the underlying element of this is actually NLP and the way we do it. But doing the NLP or doing the mental framework over the top of the archetypes map allows magic to unfold pretty easily. This is one of the most profound coaching sessions I had, or psychotherapy sessions I had in my life. Last June with Stephen Gilligan over in Japan. Absolutely loved it. Just one session was enough to, boom, shine the light on stuff. But that's because a lot of things were done ahead of time. Yeah. I've known this gentleman for a long time, so there's a lot of trust and stability. So when we did our little dance, when we had our little session, his magician archetype, my magician archetype, and all had a wonderful fun and exchange. And we're able to get results pretty darn fast. So I won't talk about me. You know, I've done the NLP, ICF coaching. I started the first ICF coaching course credential, I think 2013. So I've been at the ICF about 12, 13 years, but I didn't go up to MCC level. MCC level used to be 5,000 hours coaching. I've got 3,500 hours, but nowadays it's like 2,000 hours to get the mastery level. So I should go for the mastery level, but it doesn't really fit my agenda. It doesn't really fit my meaning at the moment, so I don't need to do it. I love the NLP. I love being a trainer and assessor. So the qualifications I have can actually fit into a corporate environment, can even go into a university environment. I'll share the trainer. I'll share the NLP we do at the very end. We covered this, so I'm going to skim over this a bit more and just do it pretty fast. This is originating, or my work's developing this, has this kind of lineage. I've tried to put it in a bit more of a systematic way. I started with the NLP. I got into the ICF coaching in there as well, but that's not so relevant for today. After the ICF coaching, which was great, I went back to the NLP, and this time I did proper NLP, proper new code NLP and master practitioner of NLP. But the master practice for me was like a 2-3 year journey, not a weekend thing. King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. I got into this book for a while doing some men's psychotherapy. I did a couple of years in different men's growth, men's psychotherapy training. Absolutely wonderful. And more recently done some Aboriginal dreaming or Aboriginal healing modality. But what I'm really looking forward to in the new year is playing more and more with this archetype model.
Can you please explain the last two on your list, the Mankind Project and the Aboriginal Dreamtime Healing?
Yeah.
One, please.
This is random, but I was going through Singapore one time, and there was a men's group meeting face-to-face in Singapore. So I went down and just found this men's group and sat through it. While the facilitator was taking people through the men's work, I said to him halfway through, I said, "Do you know Robert Masters?" And he's just like, his whole face lit up. Yes. And that was his teacher. And I'd been working and studying with his teacher. So I knew who his teacher was, and I saw the way he was running the men's group. And it was great. So MKP was one of the main Mankind Project, was on the main groups, but there's a bunch of different men's groups. And I went through this one in Queensland because Jay has been here, our JJ. So he's one of the elders for Queensland, been in it for a long time. It is absolutely wonderful. And that is another way you can grow your coaching business, is you can join organizations like Lions, Rotary, MKP, and you can serve. So Mankind Project all around the world, fantastic. The Aboriginal Dreamtime, I got introduced to an Aboriginal healer out here one day. It was a friend. A friend called me up. No, he didn't call me up. He just parked out the front near my house, and I knew he was calling me, like mental telepathy calling me. So I just went for a walk, and then I just casually, met him, and I met his friend, and his friend was this Aboriginal healer, and we ended up spending a couple of months doing coffees together. And he gave me a very thick book. One of my specialities, and I will grab it. He gave me a thick ass book, and one of my things is I can read some of these fat books. I can read some of the fat books, and it's an amazing resource being able to read through it. It's fat, but I actually spent a few months having coffees with him and discussing all this, because him and most Aboriginal people will never read a book like that, and they can't read a book like that, right? I struggle to read a book like that. It was also full of sacred geometry, and the next author from the book was about sacred geometry. And then I went with this Aboriginal healer, and I studied under one of his masters that he said about was like, and the master trainer that he works under does this Aboriginal Dreamtime healing. And they train a lot of people in the modality. And for Harold and some people, I could teach you it in a fraction of the time with a lot more accuracy. Using the skills I have, I can actually show you what they're doing. And we can do much better than the Aboriginal Dreamtime. But that's a story for another time.
Okay, Adrian, thank you.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the Aboriginal Dreamtime, because there's kind of urgency to keep the information down and also to get it up. And then ethical and ecology, and me and you and the people I speak to are all individuals. And Aboriginal don't have a leadership. So when we look at their archetypes, they're a bit different. Now, I've chosen the warrior, king, lover archetypes. The archetypes are just angles that we view reality through, or angles on the way we see things. We live in spirals. You may call it the Fibonacci sequence, or you may see the flower. You can see a flower, right? Yeah. So as the roots go up, the roots go down, right? Now we have a left eye and a left brain, a right eye and a right brain. Yeah. Our right brain and left brain are different, have different functions. If we consider the flower, it might have a left and a right, but it's got an up and a down, what's up and what's below. But there's the roots, and the way the roots go out, you could see it as a fractal. No root is the same. So roots and petals and icebergs are all like fractals. And when a fractal is the sequence getting bigger and bigger, or the vibration, the harmonics going up. But it doesn't go up in nature, it actually spins around. In terms of personality, if you take on a really human resource business suit attire, studies have shown that very, very few businesses, in fact, about 12%, have what people would consider to be good managers and leaders. Why are there only 10 to 12% of good managers and leaders? Well, organizations that we measured show that about 40% have good managers and 40% have good leaders, but only 12% are good at leading and managing. Well, the leading is up like the top of the flower, like the eagle in the sky. So we could call it an eagle archetype, and the manager might be on the ground, finger on the pulse, just like the roots, finger on the pulse. And you can't do both at the same time. Yeah. Well, you can do both at the same time, but just like you can see from your left and your right eye at the same time, but the left and the right. So it's very useful to split up models, and archetypes as a way of splitting up the model. So the particular model we're looking at, it starts with the warrior, king, lover, and magician. Now, the next picture. You might want to just save this picture if you want. Maybe save this picture or go screenshot, and we'll keep referencing this. We will keep specifically referencing this. Yeah. Okay. And if you want to look at me for a moment, I've actually got a big open area on the ground and can walk around a little bit. On this side, I'm more right. Sorry. On this side, I'm actually more left brain. Left. I've been figuring out the cameras trying to get the angles the right way. So on this side here, I've got my king. And we want you guys to do is we're going to set up the same kind of thing in your room. So start thinking ahead about some props. You may have different props for each one. And we're going to set this up in our room, and we're going to walk around it, and we're going to start to actually coach and discuss as we do it. But I want a few of you guys, you can do it staying still. You might be better off, well, most of the cameras are off anyway. You might be better off leaving the camera there and just turning the microphone on. But in about 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to walk around and do actual real stuff. Okay. So I'll start at the back. At the back here, we have an internal focus. At the very far back or the bottom, we have an internal focus. We're focusing on the internal life. And up front with our king and warrior, we're on the external. The king and the warrior is in the external world. We're making things out here. Yeah. Lover, magician is in the feelings. Yeah. In the feeling world. Subjective. Yeah. Our warrior, like our warrior and lover want options open. If you're in love, do you want a procedure? Not really. You want to have options. And if you're a warrior, you need options as well. Yeah? But now if you like structure and rigidity, we're going to be on the other side, procedures. So we get two different axes and we put them out on the map. We can add more to it. Gregory, you might want to take a photograph of this one. Gregory, you can add more to it. And it could be a cause and effect or a complex equivalence. I'm not quite sure, but with this, some other patterns emerge. Yeah, you can see around the outside, I've got a few more expansions you can add on. Are we more focused on the past or are we leaning more towards the future? Yeah. King is often doing things based off the past. Yeah. Now the lover, I want now, and he's thinking about future relationships. The lovers are often blowing things up, making them a lot bigger than they are. King often looking at the past and long term. Self and others. The warriors actually can go off by themselves for a long time. Yeah. Magicians, on the other hand, all about others and people. Yeah. With the king and the magician being like wouldn't say materialistic, but more of the material world with the procedures. They're manipulating procedures. It becomes more concrete. Yeah. Last one on there is active and reactive. Kings and warriors are very active. They want to go and they do. Go and they do stuff. Yeah. Now, we haven't added them to it for simplicity. We're sticking with this basic 4. Okay. Anyone like to ask any questions so far? So we can make this more complicated, but we're just working on the external focus, internal focus, options and procedures. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to need a microphone or 2 off in a minute.
Options.
Yeah, Gregory, you want to ask any questions about that? Options and procedures are also part of the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. They use options and procedures at the end, but almost use it. They call it perceiving and judging, which is kind of similar, but just a little bit different, perhaps. Okay, now I'll show you how I marked out my space. So I've got a king spot. In my king spot, I've got a chessboard. You think a chessboard could be a king? Some big, heavy jewelry, some bling bling. Might have a phone for managing, might have a suit, might have a jacket. In one spot, we put the king props. When we're here, we're the king. When we're out here, we're not the king. Okay? See my Christmas tree? The Christmas tree is my magician. So for the Christmas tree, I have my magician. And I have a box. And in my box, I've got some scented oils. Some scents, some smells. Can you all, especially, you've made the effort to come here. If you're not going to fully play out, at least grab an anchor for each position. So something can resemble a king for you. It could be a piece of jewelry. Maybe it's a fistful of money. Something that resembles a king in your space. And something that resembles a magician, a magic. You could have a mobile phone and you could go, oh, mobile phone, that's like a king. And then later on you could go, oh, warrior phone's like a magician. Oh, well, no, you've already used that anchor for that. So each position gets anchored. How you going, Harold? And I might need some of your feedback since Mr. J ain't here today. Darko. Well, Gregory, have you guys got some things that can represent these triggers? These are, sorry, archetypes.
Yes, I have some.
Yeah, what did you find? Let us know what you guys find for your anchors. So my magician, I got all kinds of magic oils, Christmas tree, specifically my Christmas tree is magical. I also thought about a magic wand. And I think sometimes about my whiteboard. Yeah, if I have a whiteboard, when I get the whiteboard and just dream, that for me is magic. Just dreaming at the whiteboard, scrolling things out, that's a dream. So the king and the magician, it's the external, it's the procedures, it's the both the magician and the king, you know, maybe a big, thick wisdom book, wisdom, yeah? Now I'll start to move over to the other side, the warrior side. On the warrior side and the lover side, starting with the warrior, I've got a couple of cool little props for my warrior. It's got my child's nerve gun. I got a sword. Also, I got my joggers. You know, maybe when you go running, you're a warrior. maybe sometimes you don't go running because you're just following your feelings and staying in bed. Maybe you've had a shit day and you just want to stay in bed and be with your feelings. Yeah. My lover, I'm sure you can see the heart here. Positive aspects. Lover wants to share, to love, to radiate and stuff it. I've got some pink wings. I got some lovely little pink wings. You do crazy stuff when you're in love, or, you know, when love is in the air, crazy stuff. Just look at weddings. God, aren't they crazy? But now the thing is, we actually have all these archetypes playing in our life at all times. Yeah. Well, not at all times. Sometimes we're sleeping. But what happens when we sleep? These archetypes go crazy, and they do happen at the same time. Yeah. Okay. So, lover, what can be really good, now that we've established the basics of the position, Harold, I'm sure you understand this as a coach, but talk about the king position, talk about it, have them activate and feel the king. So what does the king actually feel like? What does being a king feel like? So what does being a king feel like? Well, I'll give you a clue. King may also be known as a leader, a ruler, a chef, or a sovereign, perhaps the elder or a judge, maybe someone who's a stabilizing. Yeah. In the woman's world, maybe a matriarch or an empress, a wise ruler, maybe a mother of the tribe. Yeah. You might want to think about Nala or Mufasa from The Lion King. If you think about the power of the Lion King, for me, the Lion King has a bit more power. The Lion King. Yeah. And from a Lion King, we want to anchor that Lion King so that when we come here, we want to feel that king energy. Lion King. You've got a bit of an anchor. Lion King. Yeah. So right here, I wish I had a lion's mane right here. I'd like to have a lion's mane, you know, and just here have a strong king anchor. Now, I've repeated, I've felt the Lion King and I've anchored it. And maybe I've anchored it to my little thing. Maybe I've anchored it, but I've actually anchored it to this spot. I'm anchoring the king to this spot on the ground. And now I'm not the king. King's there. So when I stand there, I can feel the king. And I can walk away from the king and return back to normal Adrian. But returning back to normal Adrian sometimes takes a minute or a few more breaths. Okay. Everyone doing good? Keeping up? Anyone want to ask any random questions? Now's your time. I hope you got the king. Now we're going to move over to the magician. We'll anchor that in. Okay, no questions. Forever hold your peace, just like those weddings. Okay, standing over to the magician corner, right? So magician corner, we're about making magic. Making the impossible possible. Maybe known as a seer or the oracle, the medicine woman, the mystique. Think about Elsa from Frozen 2, or Moana's grandmother, or that nutty professor in Back to the Future. In the women's sense, it could also be like a midwife or a dream interpreter, yeah, a healer, a helper, a nurse, a therapist, a coach, a guide, someone who's listening and able to see the magic, yeah, understanding the emotional world, but understanding some of the physical world and being able to move between, being able to create in the material world what's immaterial. Yeah. Our magicians are very like truth seeking. They want to be real. Rituals are aspects of the magician. Yeah. And here we're much more like perhaps quiet thinking. And this is a value for this, noticing patterns. Could be getting lost in thought. Could be by yourself, figuring things out. Could be there at a computer trying to figure out how to make a funnel system work. Yeah. And with that, anchoring in the magician, introspection, thinking, structure, and we step out. With our client, maybe step back in and check. Yeah, it feels magical here. Yeah. When you're running others through this, like I am, you might want to get over the top a little. Yeah. All right. So, king, anchored in, magician, anchored in. Maybe we should come across to the lover, hey? No, I don't know. I might leave the lover. Okay, the lover. Oh, interesting. Okay, the lover, also known as perhaps the artist or the romantic or the connector or the healer. You may have heard healer over the magician, but the lovers, they can also be healers. They can spread love through art, through connection. You might think of the artist or the creative soul that brings a group together. Maybe a performer, maybe a relationships facilitator. Yeah. Maybe a dancer, maybe a singer, maybe a celebrant. Maybe the person just lights the candles, brings people together. The lovers value beauty, pleasure, things that are a bit different, things that you might not notice on the outside world, but make a difference inside. You might fill the house filled with flowers or greenery. Yeah. Play and creative expression. Emotional honesty and tenderness. But sometimes it's hard for people to actually get to the emotional honesty and tenderness. Sometimes people get stuck here. And as a man, I'll let you know that I'm having some resistance to this part at the moment. And a lot of people may at times have resistance to a part. So this is a part of my life where I'm having doesn't matter what the hell I say. It doesn't matter what on earth I say. I can feel it. I can actually feel it. Some people have higher sensitivity to it in their body. Some people don't. So I know tonight when I walk through, I'm gonna have some interesting exploring to do around this position. Whew. Sweating. Don't normally have the lights on. Okay, so your lover, something for heart, something for connection. I actually have a table full of props. I've got more and more props over there. I've got a love mask and everything. Okay, let's get to the warrior. No, sorry. One more time, back to the lover. So as you saw there, you may have noticed, we went back a second time. I almost didn't go back a second time. That was the king in me going to avoid it, okay? So apologies, the lover is really open. It's all about connecting people, love, feelings, feeling, going, flow, lucid. I'm just going to anchor that myself with 2 hands over my heart. Now this spot here is for the lover. 2 hands on my heart. And then step away, letting go of the anchor, moving away from the corner. And if I want to walk back towards it, I can feel it and put the anchor again. Yep, I can feel my lover there. I can feel the lover archetype right there. So lover, magician, king, all sweet. Just one left. Our king. No, sorry, our warrior. A warrior can take many forms. You might think of a military soldier. You might think of a protector or a knight. You might think of my swords or my guns or my boots or the army hat. You might think a bunch of different things. But the warrior is really a defender. We defend in conflict, yeah? We might be a disciplined hunter. We might be an enforcer of law. It could be a soldier, a police. It could be someone that just runs to help. Could be someone that hops out and pushes a car. Can be us sometimes, hitting our head against a wall, hoping we'll break through. Repeating the same thing day in, day out, even if it doesn't work. Sometimes you just got to be a warrior and persist through. Yeah? Warriors want to do it and get it done. Yeah? Don't talk to a warrior for too long about what has to be done. Just let them know what has to be done. Give them a push and give them a little bit of encouragement. A warrior can go out there and work very, very hard and can work hard and hard again. A warrior, and I know this for a fact from the military, they can, and veterans, military can give so much that they end up burning out on the inside. See? Any of these positions, when you stay in them for a longer period of time, if you are like a lot of my army friends, in the army or as a soldier, you wear your uniform, so you're in the warrior outfit. You get home, you take the outfit off. But do you really take the outfit off? Yeah? So a lot of the times they wear their outfit for too long, burn out. But you know, this is really good for the economy. The more people are working hard, it's great for the economy. If we use the magician, they want to think smarter. Warrior is thinking harder. Warrior goes, I want more discipline. Yep. Now, in our Mankind project, we run these groups and we share, and the man might share a problem, and what they need to do is X. And the other guy's like, yeah, you just got to do it. There's a strong, yeah, do it, you know, speak your truth. Yeah. Move on or quit the drug, quit the gambling, whatever it is, do it, you know, and in the group, they hold each other accountable and they support and they encourage each other. It's like a little pat on the back. Yeah. Warriors back each other up, and there's great strength with warriors to get things done. But we need to be able to switch out of warrior. Anyway, so we've got a warrior anchored. So the warrior, outside world, you're ready to fight. You're ready to worry about your kids, but you're ready to take action. So the warrior's ready to go and do, 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 go and do. All right, I'll turn this off for a moment so I can see pretty faces. No, I'll leave it going. Okay, so that's the basics of getting the archetypes out. Now they're on the ground. Now we want to start to maybe explore it in some way. Various different ways you might like to explore this. Let me just jump forward to another slide. Couple of questions. What positions seem dominant? Or which go first?
I would
Okay,
say
so
the warrior is dominant, right?
sorry,
The warrior is the dominant.
is it?
I would say dominant, yes.
Ah,
I think the king is not dominant. The king should be up, but not dominant.
hmm. Which of those is most dominant in your life? You looked at it in a different angle to me, Harold, in a great angle.
Definitely. I look.
I was considering
Yeah.
which archetype is dominant in your life.
Okay, in my life. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a particular archetype that's more dominant in your life?
I would say the
I know.
magician. I would say the magician. I like to work smart.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm lazy, but I prefer to work smart.
So I kind of imagine if you're in the middle and you had a choice, how you're going to work, you'll probably lean towards the magician side, which makes sense because it's a bit smarter. You know, you think about things, you figure out how to do things a bit better. What else? So now I stand in the magician area. And by standing in the magician area, I'm kind of activating the same archetype in my imagination. So if you and I were together in real life, you and I might stand here. And if you and I, Harold, were to stand here, we would see in the magician point of view. And what does the magician point of view think about these other positions? The warriors sometimes, oh God, they're a fool. Keep butting their heads. Oh, the king. I should twist the king around, show him his own blind spots. Now, how do I juggle the king? So how do I juggle the king for the ecology of the whole? How do I help the king for the ecology of the whole? I know I have feelings and they have feelings. Yeah. Below the line magician, below the line would be like, how do I undermine him? Maybe ego driven, I worry about taking the king's energy or taking the king's ego. I might think about manipulating the warrior for my own advantage. Yeah, if I'm a magician in my shadows, I might pop someone's ego bubble, and I've done that before. That was one of my shadows. I was dating a beautiful woman, long time, lots of love, but sometimes she was a lover, and sometimes her ego was inflated, and I would pop it. And it was terrible. It was terrible. But I laughed about it, you see. The magician, I would pop her bubble, and it was really terrible. Now, above the line magician, you know, a holistic magician is we're looking at the big picture. We're trying to figure out ecology. One of the key questions of the magician is how do we work it all for the greater good? Yeah. And in getting it taken care of for the greater good, I will be taken care of along the way because I'm part of the greater whole. But that's on a higher level of spiral dynamics, a greater whole. Love has got beautiful, beautiful intentions. They just need to understand a little bit. And these guys, the king and the kings are for the money, and the people with a lot of money, they need to understand these guys a little bit. I like the magician part, Harry. Hey, John, or someone else, pick an archetype, pick an angle. Or Harold, what have I missed? What else does the magician see? If you look over your life as a magician, and maybe you see the things you do in your life or patterns, whatever's important for you.
I think I can see how to actually do things a smarter way, not the hard way. And how to say, I can still see the procedures behind a script, what the things do and how they should be. So I'm a little bit structured also. The procedure behind, I'm structured. Yeah? And on the other side, I would look like to the lover when I find options. I would find something to do. I don't talk now in love that I go for a lover, that for my partner, but in general to feel love about things or to do else beside procedures, to escape a little bit the regulations.
Mm.
So think outside the box. I would move to this side.
Johnny,
and on
you
the
want to pick
shadow
one?
side, pardon me?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. On the shadow side, I like maybe to manipulate people or even do something to my advantage. Yeah.
I'm glad
from the
you
other
said
three.
that. On our cards, there are a couple of unhealthy things. Pretending to know secrets to feel powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Pretending to know secrets to feel powerful. When I have been an ego, I have definitely done that. Escaping from the real world or being too vague. Yeah. Not sharing wisdom and keeping others out. Yeah. 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 And that, guys, is where I found real solid gold. I was reading the first book about this, and it pointed out some of the shadows of the magician, and I was like, damn, guilty. That's me. I was doing shadow from there until I did this and went, oh, yep, that's a shadow. All right. Now there was another, I had a couple of questions in there I wanted to bounce back to. So which one's a dominant? I just meant this as a general question, like which go first? Okay. Which? Harold, what about your day? When I start my day, I love starting my day. Where do you think you go first in the morning? And Gregory, if you're there, where do you go first in the morning?
I go to Warrior.
I think I go to Warrior in the morning too, until after the coffee hits.
But like you say, Adrian, you can go a round trip, right?
Yeah. Well, what I did find was that if during the day I wanted to please my senses, be it by eating some chocolate. Harold knows all about the lollies, right? We can move on from the lollies, but sometimes, because the lollies for me is like a reward. And I really found that in the morning, it's best to I do a quick check-in of my body. I make sure I'm okay. All right, I got my body, move into King and see what is the most important thing to do today. And from a King point of view, I look at what's the most important thing to do, because sometimes I want to go and mow the lawn. And for me, I've got a couple of properties. There's a bunch of lawn to do, but that's not the best work to do with my time. I've got to hire someone else to do that. Yeah. So sometimes the work I really got to do in the morning, the warrior work I really need to do in the morning is get my ass into King mode and be a king with my business and build my empire, and then go, you know what? I got to go over there into the warrior and I got to cold call, or I got to market, or I got to push hard for my business, or no, I've got to work on a business plan. or I got to work on a marketing strategy. So what I want to do first in the morning is I want to enter my kingdom, and from my kingdom, I decide what's the most important thing to do for my kingdom or my coaching business, and then jump into the appropriate hat. So I'll be jumping into the warrior or the magician, and after 3 hours or a client or 2 clients or something, then I go, okay, lover, celebrate good times, come on. You know, a little celebration. I've done my coaching work, or I've done my cold calls. I've done my push-ups. I've done my exercise regime. I ran around the block, or I hustle to make money. Now I get into my feelings and love it afterwards. I so wanted to share that with Cindy the other week when she was talking about the 4 energy systems. The thing about the 4 energy systems was managing your time between the energy systems. And it was slight optimizations and tweaks. The book that largely comes from is The Effective Executive, by the way. If you like Cindy's workshop last week, you might want to hook over to The Effective Executive. That's a fantastic model. And it's really funny because I learned that in Ningbo. I learned that in Ningbo. And Cindy mentioned being in Ningbo at the start. One of her pictures was Ningbo. And I remember reading that book in Ningbo and seeing her model managing the energy systems. And that's just like we're doing here. We're managing the energy. So I personally, I like to activate the king energy in the morning, get my warrior and magician work done, check back into the kingdom, treat myself over to the lover with some beautiful loving feelings. Another way which could really work for some people, you know, if you've got a normal job, I don't have a normal job. Because I don't have a normal job, the king for me is really important. I got to start, as a business owner, I need to start my day, my primary start of the day, and with the coffee, the king is the primary role I got to get into. A friend that was around before is a nurse. Their primary role is warrior. So they can wake up in the morning, they go hard, they exercise, they yoga, do their stuff, get to work, go hard. They spend all their time in warrior. Get home at the end of the day, pretty shagged. And I imagine when they get home at the end of the day, some warriors struggle because they work so much, there's so much stress. Yeah. Then they might get over to the lover side for a couple of drinks. Okay. Anybody want to ask a question or throw a situation in this? Want to see a relationship? Where do you and your partner sit? And where do you two dance on this? If you become a king, does she take you down and like bring you back down to earth and tell you you're not so good? Or does she push you up and try to help you be a strong king and tell you you're great? Sometimes a partner can really help you step into a role. A partner can really help you step into a king mode if you need that. Or a really good partner can definitely help you see all the dark sides of your... I recently, is that the chat window going? I recently did this, and there was a warrior coach who was just ready to go gung-ho on their business plans, timelines, all set, go hard. They were doing it. He was doing it, and he's a real warrior. Meanwhile, I had a girl over here on this side, and she is a Christian, and she prays. And this is how she gets what she wants. She prays. I believe she's actually praying and manifesting. You know, she's getting alignment. She's doing magic, and what she wants just comes into her life effortlessly. I see a lot of value in the magician. But the magician, she was going, he's so crazy. He doesn't even know what he's doing it for. Why doesn't he just stop all this building and working and just get inner alignment and have it? And he was looking at her going, oh my God, she's just going to pray. She's just going to manifest. She's going to rub her crystals together. So it was really funny seeing the way they opposed each other. Yeah. Another lady I have recently, she's a real queen. She's real queen. She's really comfortable as a queen. She's got a position of leadership. She's in the executive role, right? Her husband or ex-husband was a military veteran, but he went from being a warrior to a warrior and a bit of a bruised soul, depression and a lot of dark nights. She's a queen, and she watched him get darker and darker and further away. Yeah. Children, family, a kingdom, and this is her partner, was fading away. What was really interesting was I never met her partner. I just worked with her. But she had so much reluctance to go over there. She could come over to the warrior. She could put on her shoes and run. Yeah. Some of her work was magical. She was a great queen. But you bring her over here to the feelings, and she was just didn't want to be there. Didn't want to be there. So what we ended up doing was, from the queen, we had a little anchor. And from that queen anchor, we held the queen anchor. We held the queen anchor, and we just started to walk a little bit closer to it with the queen anchor. And then we came back. We came back over to our warrior, got our warrior anchor. And with the warrior, it wasn't that hard because a warrior is courageous. Warrior. And with the warrior anchor, we got closer to it. We came back. Now, these archetypes, right, in reality, they're kind of far more complicated, right? But complicated isn't the word. It's systematic, it's predictable, that they come in, they support, but it's really complex and it's too much for our minds to imagine. But what happens is we came over to the magician. She's got a magician anchor, and she started to see the magic. She started to see that as a queen, she could allocate more time for her feelings. And as a warrior, maybe she could be courageous and take the leap. But she started to come over and she started to embody here. And this position became comfortable for her. Became comfortable. Every single session after that, she just became comfortable and happy to open up to those feelings. Guys, I think it is really important that if you want to be more productive in your day and more effective, set this up better. If you want to have a more love-filled life, set this up better. Because even if you are going for a love-filled life, we got to have the ability to pay the rent. We got to have the ability for all of these aspects of our life. Sorry, branching. It's very good to structure and systemize it. Yep. Harry.
Adrian, a question, yeah? For example, when I want to prime my morning, I'm going to prime my morning, set up my goals for this day. I want to do some physical exercise, some totally, let's say 30 minutes. Maybe I want to do also some meditation, yeah? So what would be the ideal procedure? So I step in the king before, set my goals, and then step into the different archetypes. Maybe if I want to do some exercise, I'll be the warrior. If I go out running, let's say 15, 20 minutes running, I want to be a warrior, right? But if I want to do meditation, this wouldn't fit then, right? So because one is high up and one is calm down. So should then do alternating.
That's what happens a lot with meditation.
Mm.
It doesn't quite work because I'm running around. I'm up, and if I'm running around and sitting down, okay. One thing to be aware of, we, particularly those that are trained, are very good at manipulating our own minds and preferably for our own good. We can take meaning away from things. And I made a track, a hypnosis track a long time ago. It was a healing meditation. And in the healing meditation, people would listen to it. And in the healing meditation track, it had shower. Background music was a shower or water shower. And during the track, I said, when you shower, your body cleans. Yeah? All the dirt, everything runs off. When you shower, the body cleans. Your body is cleaning and cleaning. And this was a whole meditation track. It was using the shower with the purpose of cleaning. Now, if we run, we can take away the belief that we're running because, and this is a big, big problem, we can run because we believe we're not good enough. And that is not the best belief to run into our bodies. Running every day or going to the gym every week believing we're not good enough. That's correct. But that's the reason why so many people do what they do. They think they're not good enough, so they got to get bigger, right? But if we do the running because of all the above the board reasons, maybe we're running because we love, and running makes us feel more whole. Now we're no longer running like a warrior, we're now running like a lover. But now what happens if we run like a lover instead of running like a warrior? Might get a higher quality connection. You might make some friends while you run. Yeah, what happens? Please let me know. What happens if you go running as a lover instead of a warrior?
If I run like a warrior, I just focus the goal. I focus the time I want to reach, or something like that. I'm the watch. I'm the heart rate. I'm, let's say, just focused on the goal. When I run as a lover, I enjoy. I see the nature around. I see the people around, and maybe I make friends. Yeah.
Beautiful birds, beautiful trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the thought.
But I might not be that fast. I might not be that exhausted, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah. We often take meanings away from things. So changing meanings. It's funny. Some people struggle to meditate, and then suddenly they just, boom, something happens and they find something, and then it becomes more easy and joyfully. Sometimes we see meditation and we see sitting there in the cushion, I'm feeling resistance already. Sitting on the cushion for 20 minutes like this with my back up straight, like, no, that's not a good place to come from. Sometimes the best meditation we can do is walking meditation or running like a lover. Yeah. And I won't go on about meditation because meditation is actually, spreads out to such a big field. We can do meditation focus on something. We can do meditation focus out on something. We can have meditation focus in our heart and on someone else's heart. Or we can meditate on our whole field and that whole field. Yeah. Or we can meditate on one whole field and stepping out. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do there. When I look at this compared to the traditional pre-colonization model for Australian Aboriginals. So if I look at really tribal Aboriginals before colonization, they had a slightly different model. A key distinction with their model is they didn't have the king. The king was a hunter. Aboriginals very community. The West today, especially in the last 5 years, 5 years ago, the West had lots of communities. Something happened 5 years ago, and many communities around the world were strangled, had their fundings cut, or were simply... Community is pretty much our entire world of communities all around the world went deeply downhill. The start of COVID, what a coincidence. Now, with the lack of communities, we need to be governed more. When you have strong communities, you don't need governing. Communities govern themselves. Traditionally, the king of a village, well, Aboriginal history didn't have kings, remember? They had hunters. They would go out and hunt and come back. The hunter would go out there and hunt, and then he would come back. In the Western model, the king doesn't have to come back. The king can keep building his empire. There's no limit to how much money you can put on your shoulder. Australian Aboriginals could only put a kangaroo on their shoulder. They couldn't put the world's wealth on their shoulder. In the Western system, this has gone crazy, and some people have ultra high wealth because of the shadows of the king. Now, the king is an archetype. Therefore, the world is fucked. Yeah, in some ways. Also, great hope. Sorry for saying that. But the reason is because of the archetype. It's not an actual person. It's the archetype. They walk away from the fire and keep walking, where traditionally the Aboriginal would come back with the kangaroo, back to the center. Now, in tribal, all around the world, tribes have what they call corroborees or meetings. They come around the fire. And it doesn't matter if you're a warrior, you know, a king, a lover, or a magician. They all come around the fire. Ceremonies, communities. But in the West, I don't know what happened a couple of thousand years ago. Archetypes got out of whack. Technology came, and the technology developed at such a rate that there was no checks and balances for the kings or the magicians. So the traditional method, you would go out and come back to the community. But in our model today, most people live with small families or in share houses. Yeah, a lot of people live by themselves. Yeah, so there's no community. There's no back to the commune. Yeah, traditional Aboriginal, the lover, the magician, they were aware of things. They understand the commune. Yeah, complex, but 60,000 years versus the West. Now, with the king's money, you can hire magicians. You can hire NLP people. You can hire lovers. You can hire soldiers. You can hire armies. Kings today go up in different levels, but there's kings today which hire and use private armies. Yeah. So anyway, my solution to it all, though, is to make our own center position. For our peace and for world peace, we need a strong center position. So that's why I think it's really important for us all to meditate. And we meditate, I meditate in the middle of it all. Now, by meditating and having a strong self, a strong center position, we want ideally to be in the middle as possible of all these archetypes, which is sitting still. Even breaths in and out, hence the box breathing is fantastic. Box breathing, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you like. Most Garmin watches have a breathwork app. They're everywhere. Yeah. If you really wanted to, just using breath work, you could also do breath work for a couple of minutes, and then you could simply make the inhale and the exhale longer, either way, to swing either direction. You could very easily go from box breathing into doing. You could very easily go from box breathing to loving. You can easily go from box dreaming to a daydream. Yeah. So a really strong center and self position. Thank you for mentioning meditation, Harold. Now, we at a center, if we develop a strong self position in the center, it can become a process like washing your hands. So you get angry at the kids, instead of hitting them or strifing them or giving them tech, you wash your hands, you meditate for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you reset your nervous system, you get back to the kids. Yeah. Having a bad day at work, walk down the stairs, walking down the stairs, just one flight of stairs really slowly. One flight, not 50 flights, just one flight of stairs really slowly. Count down the stairs or count up the stairs and change your breath. Yeah. If you go to meet someone for a coaching call or a sales call, get to the restaurant a few minutes early. Be there a few minutes early and just breathe. Get in the meditative state before the meeting. When the meeting comes, you don't know what's going to happen. But if you're in the middle, then you can bounce to whatever point. So I really do believe a strong self, a strong center position with the meditation is key.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live, free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.